there, welcome to Humans of Authenticity, and thank you for choosing my podcast. My name is Lily and I'll be your host. Humans of Authenticity will share many heartfelt conversations with my guests on their stories and how they embrace their authenticity in all forms. Authenticity will be a buzzword unless we pause and reflect on what it means for us, for individuals like you and me. Join me in these conversations. In each episode, my guests will choose a keyword from a selection of 12, which will be used as the theme of the conversation. These keywords change frequently, so you will only hear the same keyword once. Enjoy the episode today. Hi, Cimo. Thank you so much for joining me on the episode today of Humans of Authenticity. Would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners first?
Hi, V. It's great to see you, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm Yingxi Cimo Chen, a cancer researcher, and I'm also an advocate for health equity.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's start with your stories. Could you share 3 things that you love about yourself with our listeners?
I would say self-determination, passion, and understanding.
Let's pick passions to unpack a little bit. Can you give me an example of how that passions impact your career choice today?
I was born in China and into a lively family. I have a big family, my parents, my 2 brothers, and me. Due to my father's profession, we've been always on the move and experiencing different places, cultural, and especially during my early childhood. So it's been quite an adventure doing grown up in such a dynamic environment, meet different people and make connections to them. And people always comment, "Oh, Cimo, you have such a passionate, vivid spirit. And then we love how you talk and how you are so excited about everything you saw and all your experience." So I think that's the first, at the very beginning, I received that from the external environment. What's that people told me. And internally growing up, if I find something really interesting and I determined to do it, I have this passion and determination to translate it into a meaningful action and to pursue it. That's how my understanding of the passion from myself. And sometimes people can even hear it from my voice. They say, "Wow, you have very passionate voice."
It is, and I love that energy. Hence, I love to share that energy with my listeners on this channel.
Thank
So
you.
you mentioned when you find your passion in a space, you will have self-determinant to translate that and share that with your peers. Can you think of an example for us?
For example, I'm working in this medical space and I'm very interested in translating my knowledge into service to the community where I'm a part. I've been a passionate advocate for health equity in my community. Currently, I'm a commissioner on Commission on Health in Montgomery County where I live. And we regularly work with communities facing health adversities. I saw the differences in people, especially people from vulnerable communities and from resources limited communities. They are facing health adversities. And I want to use my knowledge and use what I have to help them to closing the gap, to advance the health disparities and to change this environment, to provide more equitable environmental health equity to this community. So I think that passion really helps me to understand what we're having nowadays and also to collaborate with other people who's also working in this space.
What do you think about your experience in that space? What's the most proud achievement that you have received during your time of being that health advocate for health equity?
One recent experience I can remember was as an immigrant in this country. I'm not from here, and English is also not my first language. I understand how challenging it could be especially in terms of access to health care and health needs. So recently, this county is about to launch a health access survey to understand the community needs in terms of healthcare access. Initially, in this plan, they only had 3 foreign language included in the focus group discussion. When I learned upon this, I reached out to the fellow advocates who's also represent other communities. Then we arranged a meeting with the program leaders. We emphasized the diversity linguistically, culturally of the community healthcare consumers. We emphasized that even though they live here, they may have very limited English proficiency or health literacy to understand or to adequately express their healthcare needs. So we need more foreign language focus groups. So I'm very glad that in the end, the program leaders decide to expand the program to include 8 more foreign languages. So hopefully, when they complete the survey, we could have a more understanding of the diverse community healthcare needs in this area, and then we can help them.
It's an amazing achievement. Congratulations, and thank you for doing that for the community.
Absolutely. And that's the moment when I feel very encouraged, especially working with people who share similar beliefs and goals. Many other fellow advocates, they are doing this using their leisure time after their work. It's not part of their work. I can remember one of the last meetings, it was a 3-hour meeting to discuss the community needs, and many of them are from different levels. They have CEOs from NGOs and community consumers and people like me and many other people. We discussed this issue and we work together for one goal. That's the moment when I'm very inspired and encouraged, because I feel I'm not alone. There are many other people working with me. We are pushing this together. We're working on this together.
That's amazing. How do you feel after receiving that, after seeing the outcomes of that project?
Relieved and encouraged and illuminated.
I'm interested in your first emotion of relieved. Can you unpack that for me? What does it mean when you say you feel relieved?
As a minority here, and especially during the past few years, there are so many changes going on in the society. I feel our voice can be minimal. We may be ignored, like our voices as a minority, people may not care. So when we achieved this, I feel like really people care. It's more of maybe we need to find a better channel or better way of advocate for us, for our needs, for the community, and for the people who are facing adversities. So it's just the way we're approaching it. That's why I feel I'm relieved, because people do care. It's just we need to find a better way, or a better understanding or respectful way to approach this.
I love that. You mentioned the way we approach it and to find a better channel so that we can get our message across and our voice can be heard. Minority populations observe the same disparity when it comes to access to different services, and in this specific scenario, access to healthcare services. What's your advice on how we can find out a better approach or a better channel so that they can get their message across? If there is one thing that they can do differently, what would that be?
I guess, first of all, my personal experience cannot represent everything, and I wouldn't say it's the best approach. But my approach to this issue is to be involved and try to understand others, to see the bigger picture. We have 7 billion people on this planet. We're from different culture, different backgrounds, different country. We all have our own priorities. So when I'm advocating for my voice or my community's voice, I also try to understand the voices from other communities, their priorities, their perspectives, so we can achieve a common ground. For me, I'm more thinking of a way of let's do this together and let's do this more efficiently, because the resources is finite. And how are we sharing this, make the most of it that can help all of us? So that's my approach when I'm advocating for my community, for my people, for my group. I also emphasize working with other communities, other groups, so we work together that can benefit all of us.
I really like your sense of inclusivity in the way you describe your examples. Thank you for sharing that. And I think this is a great cue for us to move to the second agenda of our episode. This podcast channel is built around a keywords of your choice from the list that I provided. What keyword did you choose for today's conversation?
First of all, I have to say I love your keywords. And I struggled a little bit because I can relate myself to most of your keywords. But today I would like to choose respect.
Thank you for the feedback. In the context of authenticity, how do you interpret respect?
During my grown up, there's a piece of information I'd like to share. I feel like living in different places have gifted me with a unique perspective to myself, but it hasn't been without its challenges. Culturally, linguistically, I found myself often navigating unfamiliar terrain, struggling to find my footing, and the path to belonging was not always smooth. I also wrestled within the notion of fit in. Initially, I tried to fit into the environment. As time passed, I discovered a remarkable truth. Like I could contribute while also remaining true to my authentic self. This relation was transformative, and it marked the shift from merely just trying to assimilate to recognizing the value in my distinct perspectives. For example, when I moved to one place, I used to try to fit in, to dress like them, try to mimic my voice, try to talk like the people there. But then I realized, no, actually people may respect and they may like the way I talk. They may enjoy my accent. They may enjoy the way I dress myself, the way I behave, or my energy. Because in some communities, I feel sometimes I doubt, oh, am I too passionate? Am I too loud, too energetic? I may not fit into the group. But then I discovered, no, that's not true. Actually, people appreciate it. Some people appreciate it. They think it's interesting to see me as an outlier in this group. So I found being an outsider holds a profound power. It's a position that may initially provoke anxiety, but it also brings forth to a reservoir of strength when I can bring something different to the table and can contribute from my own perspectives.
I love hearing transformation like this in this channel.
Thank you.
Can you share with me at what point during your stories that you realized that you need to do things differently to remain your true self and respect your true self a lot more?
I cannot think of a black and white distinct point. I feel like it always been through my whole life. For example, back to my keyword on respect. You know, growing up with an Asian mom, and she's a profound influence on my education. One lesson she taught me from a very young age was the importance of respect. It wasn't just about saying please and thank you, but also a deeper understanding of respect for family, elders, and every individual I encountered. In her eyes, it's a bedrock of good manners and something she believed every child should carry with them. This early emphasis on respect has shaped my journey, and it's been a guiding light in my life. Sometimes I think it's more than a set of rules. It's a way of being, of thinking, as I've navigated through the life and gained experience. My concept of respect has evolved. It's not just about external courtesies. It's also about a deeper internal respect for my authentic self and an external respect for others, trying to understand others and build relationship authentically with others. Like you see, we live on this big planet. Each person has their own experience and perspectives. I found it so interesting to learn their stories, and understanding and acknowledging this diversity is to me a profound form of respect. And it's also recognizing the inherent value in every person, and regardless of where we're from, our differences.
I really love how you separate the concept of respect into internal deep respect for ourselves versus the external respect for others and respect for the differences between us and others. So let's unpack one element at a time. When we say deeper respect for ourselves, what does that mean? How does it look like? Do you have an example to demonstrate that self-respect?
Example, I mentioned it before, initially when I moved to a new place, and sometimes I struggled of the concept of fitting in, trying to mimic my behavior or my tone or my voice, and trying to just fit in. But then I realized I wasn't happy. I feel like, no, that's not me. I had moment that with self-doubt, I wasn't enjoying how I behave. And then that's the moment I realized I should respect my authentic self. I should respect my internal voice. For example, I don't want to talk like this. No, I want to just be myself with this high frequency voice and shout out, say, no, this is not right. We should considering this, for example. And I found myself way more happier after recognizing that and respect that, or of not forcing myself into something that who I'm not.
Thank you for explaining that sense of self-respect. But I want to take a step back. Think about the first day that you landed to this country. Well, as soon as we land in this new country, we'll start immerse ourselves in the new environments. We start meeting new people, seeing a lot of differences from where we were before. All of that information that we absorb in as a sponge. From my own experience, at some point I'll start seeing the differences between the environments that I am now in comparing to the environment that I was comfortable to be in. So what was your approach to balance the individuality of yourself with the experience in the new environments?
I think then this would bring me back to my life in Australia, in Canberra. I immigrated to Australia with my brothers many years ago. So Australia holds a very special place in my heart. And it became a transformative chapter in my life, to be honest. I pursued my higher education there and earned my PhD at the Australian National University in Canberra. The city really embraced me, and I consider it my second hometown. Australia is very different to China, culturally, linguistically, and in many, many other ways. The academic environment there, coupled with the warm and inclusive culture there, really fueled my passion for research and my commitment to making a difference. It's also there I met many, many good friends who are from many different places, and I love to listen to them and connect with them. Initially, I was very quiet, living in my dorms, I just didn't reach out because I thought I was very different, and I may not understand them, or I'm afraid of if I say something, I'm offend people. So I tend to close myself up and tend to hang out with people who are also students from China. But then one day I joined this event. I lived in Todd Hall, and we have this community residency group. I remember one year we hosted this cultural event that people from many different places have this table, and then we can go talk to them, learn their experience, learn their life, learn their country. That's a very interesting and eye-opening event to me. And then I start to reflect to myself and to think, wow, this is so exciting and so interesting. People are very different, and people respect their differences, and they appreciate their difference, and people are genuinely interested in these differences. So I start to open up and making friends with people from many, many different places. And I learned they are also genuinely interested in my life as individual and in my culture, my background, and my experiences. I really embraced that time because we're really connected. We are so different in many, many ways, but we are connected. We live in this same place, and we are connected as a whole family, even though we are still different internally. We bring something very different to the table and to the community. That's what I feel make this community so beautiful, so interesting, so vivid, and so diverse. And I think that's the moment taught me about a broader understanding of diversity and inclusivity, and how that can benefit me on an individual level, and it can also benefit the broader community at a broader level.
Thank you. What I love from that example is that you step out of your comfort zone and gradually build up a cheering network so that you can feel safe and thrive in that environment. And I found that's the best way for us to be a lot more comfortable, to be ourselves, have a better sense of awareness about ourselves, and have a deeper respect for our individuality. That's awesome.
Thank you, Bei. And also I want to add a note, because that's not just my own achievement, I would say achievement, but it's also because of my peers, my friends, and my colleagues, also my mentors, supervisors, and many people I met during this whole journey. They helped me open up with their warmness, with their respecting and understanding perspective and inclusivity. They helped me with being in this environment. So I feel like I'm not judged, and I'm more willing to open up, to share my perspectives. I feel safe to express myself freely and to say what I think. In that way, I feel like in this authentic environment, we also feel more included, and we can contribute in a different way, in a different capacity that is authentic and that can really enrich the community we are living in.
I really love that. And thank you for the shout out to your support network. And I hope if they're listening to this episode, they'll be extremely proud of where you are today.
Thank you. Yes, for everyone who have been on the journey with me, and thank you very much. I'm really grateful for your help, support, encouragement, friendship, and everything.
Appreciate it. So let's unpack that particular experience. You mentioned a couple of times that we live in a very multicultural society. We know that the world's getting a lot flatter these days. The thing I found is when we encounter individuals from different backgrounds, as soon as we see someone who looks different than us, sound different to us, stereotypes can sometimes unconsciously influence our perceptions, leading to biases. Now, as an individual, how can we cultivate awareness of these assumptions so we can genuinely respect each other as an individual?
I think that's a really great question, V. And I often actually think about that question as well, especially when I'm often in an environment where I look different, I behave differently. So I try to remind myself when I see someone, I treat them as a unique individual as opposed to what way they look like, or are they different to me, or do they look different to me? So I remind myself, know this person, engage with this person, treat this person as a unique individual. They have their own stories. They may have shared experience with some other people or with their community, but in the end, they are also their unique individuals. They have their own experience and they have their own skills. I will always try to remind myself to get to know this person or engage with this person, treat this person as a unique individual, just treat this person as this person is.
I really appreciate the notion of treat the person as their unique individuals. Let's step outside of our comfort zone a little bit and have some fun with this question. So let's imagine a dystopian world where there's lack of respect, where respect is not in anyone's dictionary or practice. How do you think that world would look like?
Chaotic, and that certainly wouldn't be a world I want to live in. And that would be in no one's benefit. Because for me, when I'm approaching an issue or thinking about something, I often think about the greater good. As a human species, as a sapient, what can really carry us on to the next 100 years or the next 1,000 of years, 100,000 of years, without respect? As humans, we are different to other species. We are the ruler of this planet. So my feeling is we have two levels. What makes us different? The first level is biologically and intellectually. We are different in many ways and advanced compared to many other species living on this planet. The second level is this fictional level of understanding, that including respect is one fundamental part of it. We respect each other, we respect the differences, and we understand what will bring us, carry us to the continuation of humanity. In the end, we are this one big group, and we're not that much different from one another from biological point of view. So that's really, when I'm viewing this without respect, I feel like we would lack this second level of understanding that is actually fundamentally important to carry us on as a human species.
I really love your scientist mind.
Oh, thank you. I hope this is not too everywhere.
No, you really categorized everything for me so far.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And actually, when you say in the end we are one big group, you reminded me of this concept that I've read through literature, the concepts of oneness. The concept of oneness, in a nutshell, gives me the narrative of some big spirit looking at Homo sapiens.
Yes.
On the Earth, the planet. Regardless of 7 billion on this planet, the big spirits only see one Earth. And
Yes.
that's the idea of oneness. Regardless of how many we have on this planet, we are one.
Yes.
At the end of the day, and I love how you say respect is the fundamental part of our level of understanding. That's how we can harmoniously come together with respect for each other's voice. This is amazing.
Thank you. I totally agree with you, V. And yes, I totally agree. And to some, we are one. We are one big group. And we want to help each other.
Yeah. So let's return to reality after that scary dystopian scenario. Another element of respect I like to unpack with you, and we mentioned this a couple of times, is respect for differences. Now, we know that authenticity encourages us to be true to ourselves, to our uniqueness and core value. But what if our core values are too different to others? Let's say in a teamwork environment, what if our core value is different from the team's core value? How do we cultivate the environment and the team so that we can perform the work in a harmonious way? Have you ever encountered a situation where you have to negotiate with yourself because you are too different so that you can fit in easier?
Absolutely. I think there are many scenarios where I challenge myself, or I doubt the environment, or I'm questioning myself whether this is achievable because we are so different and we hold very different perspectives to approach one issue. For example, recently we had a discussion on health disparities research and health to advance health equity. People from different disciplines and all with different backgrounds, they have different understanding of how we should approach this issue. They all have their own approaches, and sometimes these approaches are very different. And also we understand people have different priorities. For some group of people, advancing health disparities, addressing health disparities may not be their top priorities. They may think, oh, this is not cost effective from a nation, like if we view it as a whole nation or even globally. I respect these differences. Nonetheless, I disagree with that. So I think the first step is to respect, to understand, and to recognize there will be differences, and there are differences within us. I think that's the fundamental steps to respect each other's viewpoint. I often try to tell myself, I'm not always right, and many of the time I can be wrong. So I try to tell myself, listen to others, their reasoning, and why do they approach this, or why do they think this way? Try to understand the logic behind the reason, behind the phenotype, like why they behave this way, or why they think this is important and that is not important. So I think the first step is to recognize and respect the difference. Once we achieve that, I think the second step is to identify the common ground and maximize it and work from the common ground to achieve what we want to achieve. So that's my approach. And of course, there are moments I have to compromise, because I am like, maybe I have to compromise for the common good, for example, or for the team to succeed, to achieve this, or to move this project forward. So I have to compromise. I have to give up a little bit of my priorities to agree and support others' priorities so that we can advance as a group, as a team, and together. So that's my approach.
Thank you so much. I think you can write a whole book about this.
Oh, thank you.
They're very logical.
That's a great compliment. Thank you.
They're really logical. I love how you start with understanding the viewpoint and how you dedicated time to, once you understand it, then you respect it. And I love how you also allow yourself to be brave enough to say, actually, I disagree with this. Then somehow you find the resilience to maintain the conversations, to start identifying the common ground. So that's a great demonstration of respect fully for different perspectives and different viewpoints.
Thank you, V.
Before we move to the next part of this episode, are there anything else you'd like to cover to highlight the importance of respect or authenticity?
There's always a story in my mind. Back to the point that the people I met have had profound influence on me, and they provided opportunities, kindness, and everything to me. A big part of that is They made who I am today. So they really shaped my understanding how I view the world. I think it was 2 years ago when I was very fortunate to serve as a medical volunteer at the US-Mexico border, assisting the unaccompanied children across the border. There's one evening, the sun dripped low and the tent began to empty for dinner. I found myself walking down the aisle on the lookout for a newly arrived girl. I moved through this quiet space, and my gaze fell upon a very small figure tucked away on a bunk bed, like cocooned beneath a blanket. I didn't want to disturb her sleep, so I contorted myself between the narrow space of the beds. And one hand holding my laptop, other hand, I was trying to sort her wristband where there's a unique identification number, so I can put into the system to check her in. So she stirred, and her eyes fluttering open, exhaustion etched across her face. She obviously was really tired. However, she recognized my awkward position, and she mustered every ounce of her strength to extend her arm and revealing the barcode on her wristband, because she knows what I was looking for. So in that moment, I was profoundly moved. After all she had experienced, during the whole way from her hometown to the border, she was still mindful of my discomfort and seeking to ease my task and make me feel comfortable. And my eyes are just welded with emotion, but I hold back tears. I didn't want to burden her further. She's so young. And it was this moment that illuminated the innate kindness within humanity, like a testament to the power of giving and being there for each other. This moment has always in my head every time such a little girl, exhaustion crossed her face, but then she's still trying to help me make my life easier, try to help me complete my task. So it's all this filled with such tenderness and humanity are the source of my hope. And the Spirit give me the dedication and encouragement to continue what I am doing and reinforced my belief of humanity and kindness in people and try to contribute to the community where I am a part.
Thank you so much for sharing that very powerful story.
Thank you for listening.
I think as life happens, we come across so many different lives and individuals. This reminds me of respect for every experience or every encounters that we have across each other, because we don't know how our actions impact on others. I can hear a lot of the emotions coming through when you're sharing the stories. How are you feeling?
It's actually very interesting. The other day, my colleague was asking me, after work, you're always doing all this kind of extracurricular. How do you find your energy to do that? Then it's exactly actually all these experiences and encounters that really give me power, give me energy. That's my source of energy. And I feel every encounter, good or bad, they are all blessing. They are part of me and they shaped who I am now today, the richness and my understanding of the world, of the community. How are we going to advance as a whole group? How can we approach issues with respect? How do we try to understand each other's and resolve issues? All these experiences help me personally, intellectually, and my work as well.
Very powerful moment here that I'm learning from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vi.
So we talk a lot about your experience and a lot of different examples in the past. Now we'd like to shift gear and move to futures. And in this part, I'd love to know what's next for you in the coming 12 months.
I'm going to keep continuing doing what I'm doing. as an advocate for health disparities and to advance health equity. In the meantime, I'll continue doing my research at work as I really enjoy doing research. I can be a nerd sometimes, actually many of the time, but I really enjoy it. That is who I am. That is my authentic self. I will keep that, and I will moving forward with hope and kindness, hopefully.
Thank you. So how does your chosen word respect achieve what you'd like to achieve in the next 12 months?
I think it's very important, and it's in every step of my plan, my life, and even with everyday life. I have to respect, first of all, the topic and respect my passion and understand it, because there will be many difficulties and obstacles that in front of me. I need to respect those obstacles and recognize it, and then I can find a way to navigate through it and find a solution that can help me achieve my goals to become who I want to become.
So the next question I like to ask for a tip so we can practice respect better. If there is one thing we can do today to demonstrate our respect to others, what would that be?
The first step for me, I would think, is respect their uniqueness, respect their difference, and respect of their different point of views and their backgrounds.
Thank you so much for that. We are getting to the last question of this episode.
Thank you.
And this can be a fun one.
Oh.
So if you were to win a world-class, the most prestigious award in the world.
Oh, wow.
So think of something like an Oscar for movies or a Nobel Prize, but it doesn't have to be those exact awards.
Mm-hmm.
What award would you like to receive, and for what reason?
I don't know if I've made some contribution to the community and I'm dedicated to health equity. I would very much love if one day we can achieve health equity across this planet, and everyone has an opportunity to achieve the optimal life experience and can have the opportunity to have the optimal health outcomes. So that would be something I want. And then in terms of the award, I would very much appreciate award to being my authentic self and to be who I am. I can also do the great things.
Thank you so much. That's really illuminate the consistency in your stories from the beginning of this episode.
And thank you very much for having me, V. And I really enjoyed sharing all these examples. To be honest, it's the first time I've been sharing this much. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm really grateful for this. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing your story with me. And this is the end of this episode. That's it for today's episode. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to hear your take on the chosen keyword. Have a lovely time, and thank you again for spending time with Humans of Authenticity. Until next time.